Kia ora, I'm Chelsea Daniels, and this is The Front Page, a daily podcast presented by the New Zealand Herald. Eden Park's gearing up for more gigs, more goals and more growth. The number of concerts allowed each year at Auckland's Eden Park Stadium will almost triple under new rules announced today by the government. Under the new settings, the stadium will be allowed to host up to 12 large and 20 medium-sized concerts a year without the need for resource consent. We'll speak to Sir Graham Lowe about Eden Park hosting New Zealand's first ever State of Origin match next year. But first on the front page, former Auckland Mayor Phil Goff is with us to chat about the wider changes to the stadium and whether its neighbours will mind. First off, Phil, what was your first reaction to this news?
Oh, look, I think it's great that we've got the State of Origin coming here. This is the first time, I think, in 40 years of the State of Origin that it's been held outside of Australia. And I don't always watch it because sometimes it's not on at a convenient time of the day, but they are fierce competitions. And I think it'll be really popular with the New Zealand audience. It'll also be good economically for the city. It'll bring, they're estimating maybe 10,000 people across from Australia to watch the game. And that's maybe something like $17 million worth of expenditure into the local economy. So I think there's a lot to celebrate there.
And what about all the concerts though, Phil? Like, had the battle over concerts at Eden Park, had that been brewing while you were Auckland Mayor?
Yeah, look, I think it was a process at one point in time. The local residents association in Mount Eden was fiercely against any extension of the hours that the stadium could be open. But I think over time, the mood has changed. I had a chief of staff at one point that was living just across the road from Eden Park, and I asked him how he felt about it. And he said, look, we moved into this flat because we knew it was near Eden Park. Yeah, it's lively. It doesn't worry us too much. Traffic can be a bit of a hassle, but if you live here, that's what you're going to expect. We did extend the number of concerts that could be held. I think we were able to hold up to about 12. The current proposal is to nearly treble that, but I'm just wondering whether they will actually achieve 32 concerts a year at Eden Park. And if they do, of course, some of that might be just zero-sum game. It'll be concerts that might otherwise have been held at Mount Smart or Western Springs. So it won't necessarily be a net increase in the number of concerts. But for Eden Park, which is not owned by the council, it's owned by a trust, that will enable it to make more money. And that means that they won't come cap in hand to council asking for ratepayer subsidies as they have done in the past. And maybe they can start repaying, the $40 million in debt that they owe the Auckland Council for the time in which Eden Park was renovated to cater for the Rugby World Cup. So from a ratepayer point of view, I think it's also a positive.
It sounds like you've still got that bee in your bonnet, Phil.
Look, I understand there'll be people that won't be in favour of this. And, when I've gone to rugby matches at Eden Park, I usually park somewhere down Dominion Road and do the long walk. My own personal preference was, of course, to have a new stadium and to have it more towards the centre of town, downtown, perhaps around where the old railway station is. And the reason for that is that all of the transport converges in that area, the motorway, the ferries, the trains, the buses, pre-match and post-match are downtown. Now, the one thing we didn't have was the money to build that stadium. There were particular suggestions that a stadium could be built. In the meantime, we've got Eden Park. And while we've got Eden Park, let's make the most of it. Let's enable the trust that owns Eden Park to, sufficient instead of reliant on the ratepayer.
Do you reckon there's enough interest from overseas acts to actually book Eden Park? Or are we just going to end up with 20 more 660 concerts?
Well, that wouldn't be a bad thing. 660s are pretty good. Look, they will come if it's economic to come, and with a bigger stadium, then something that will encourage them as an additional factor. But they'll be looking at the bottom line. I've been to all sorts of concerts at Mount Smart, Elton John and Adele and Fleetwood Mac, and the atmosphere there has been fantastic. And of course, you fit a lot of people in. They were probably pretty happy with Mount Smart. And my guess is that Mount Smart would be a bit cheaper to hire than is the case with Eden Park. Eden Park can be quite expensive, and some of the people that want to have sporting competitions there have remarked that they haven't gone there because of the cost. So that's something that the people that are running Eden Park, the trust board, and the manager Nick Sauntner have got to look at and find out the best way to make a reasonable income out of it while not deterring groups because of the cost.
Well, I say one of the changes, though, is that nighttime sport will be allowed on any day as long as the games finish by 10:30 p.m. Now, I don't know what your bedtime is, Phil, but mine is well before 10:30. And if I lived next to Eden Park and was kept awake until 10:30, 11 on a Tuesday, I wouldn't be too happy about it.
Yeah, no, and there will be people that won't be happy about that. You know, the fact that the games can now be held on a Sunday. It's on a Saturday night, you've got Sunday off generally. If it's on a Sunday night, you might have to get up early to go to work. That's why I say this isn't something that everybody will welcome, but I think the majority of people, even maybe the majority of people in the neighbourhood, will feel okay with.
Well, hopefully we can go to a Taylor Swift concert or something next time she comes around. She won't miss us out.
Yeah, we have missed out on some of those things. And with Auckland, you know, if you're going to have an international concert here, Auckland is the place where it'll be because it's a third of the country's population. That also means other people coming up from other parts of New Zealand. So good for the hotel industry. And if the government ever allows the council to put a bed tax in place, you know, that will be a bit of an income earner for the council as well. I tried with both National and Labor to get a bed tax, didn't succeed. We put in a rating tax that was taken to the Supreme Court. We finally won there, but the current council isn't using that provision. A bed tax would be much simpler, and I hope the government that seems to want to tell council to do everything. When they can do it, how high they should jump, etc. Even this decision, actually, the fact that it's being taken by central government rather than Auckland Council itself is a bit of a reflection on the controlling element, the centralisation of central government at the current time. I think, you know, maybe council could have moved on it earlier. They could have moved on it, I think, with persuasion. But to have the government intervene on something as small as how often you can have concerts at a local stadium seems to me overreached by central government when local government can and should make those decisions itself. But local government does have to answer the question that they could have moved a bit more quickly on it, and that's a fair criticism.
Thanks for joining us, Phil.
Thanks, Chelsea. It's a pleasure. No problem at all.
Hosting State of Origin is expected to attract over 10,000 of our Aussie neighbours, generate more than 50,000 international visitor nights, and inject an estimated $17.4 million into the local economy. We speak to Sir Graham Lowe about why Kiwis should get behind the game. First off, Sir Graham, what does this mean for New Zealand?
History will be the judge, and I think it's going to judge it really favourably because State of Origin, the concept of State of Origin is really one of the most successful brands in the sporting world. It's got proven success since 1980. It attracts an audience that is now global in many ways. I mean, if you were fortunate enough to go along to an Origin game over in Australia, you know, you would have experienced the excitement that is very unusual. And what it means when it comes over here to New Zealand is something really special because this is a rugby union country. This is a rugby union country. But there are a few of us, I'm one of them, who've been rugby league since we were 5 years old and maybe even longer. And those people always look to Australia and have wondered what it's like over there. And then they've seen this State of Origin come along and they've thought, wow, how fantastic is that? I'm the only one really from this country that has actually been in the engine room as a coach of Queensland back in 91 and 92. And what I experienced in those times, I can't really put into words, Chelsea, because it's galvanised into my soul how exciting, how privileged I felt as a Kiwi to be invited into that into that cauldron, and it's just fantastic. I was fortunate. I coached Norths in Brisbane in 1980, and when the first State of Origin game came along in 1980, I remember taking all my team along. We all went along to have a look at this game, and at that particular stage, basically no one south of the border believed it would be a success. And the Arthur Beetson led side in 1980, Queensland side, just really laid the foundation for what was going to become what it is now, the greatest sporting event on the planet, I believe.
Well, you've got to say that, don't you, Sir Graham?
Yeah, please call me Lowe.
Lowy. Right. Well, Lowy, you're not only the only Kiwi coach that's been involved, but I believe the only coach not to have been in Queensland or New South Wales. Now, this has got to bring back some pretty big emotions for you, surely.
It is. I think I can still remember vividly. I was actually coaching Manly in Sydney. This is in late 1990, and I got a call from one of the board members from the QRL, from the Queensland Rugby League, who invited me to come up and have a meeting with him and talk about being the coach for 1991. And I just the excitement and pride and thrill of it all, it's impossible to put into words. But it was I've spoken about it to a lot of people over the years, and the excitement just never goes away. Even now, I'm 80 years old this year, and it's just, I feel like it was yesterday. And the worrying thing is, Chelsea, I think I could still go out and do it. That's the really worrying thing.
Well, you're kitted up already. You could. Well, my first reaction was I'm South Australian, so all we care about down south is AFL, of course, you know that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Even I have heard about the State of Origin, hey, and the vibe even of a league game versus a union game when you're actually there does seem a bit more electric, doesn't it?
It does, and I think it's because there's a lot more confrontational, and it's easy. It's tribalism at its absolute best. And I think what you're going to see when the State of Origin comes to Auckland, I'm tipping that it'll be like a Queensland home crowd. Because obviously there's a lot of New South Wales supporters here, and I'd advise them to go down to Woolies now and get their boxes of tissues ready because they're going to need them. So get in there early, but because I think it's going to be a Queensland pro Queensland crowd, and it's going to be fantastic. I mean, Eden Park has delivered a lot of excitement, in its long history. But nothing will be any more exciting than what the State of Origin will be. It'll be something different.
Well, what you're telling me is that I've got to get my Maroons gear out for next year.
I'm going to look out for you, Chelsea, and I hope you're a Maroons lady. I know you're from that era of ping pong, but this is proper footy.
Well, look, I've got to be devil's advocate here, Lowy. Critics will say, this is spending big money on one night. How do you answer people who will question the government and local government spending on this big night?
Well, and that's a fair enough question as well. But you have to spend money to make money at times, and what this will generate. It will be. It doesn't come along in a simple package. This will be widespread and far-reaching as well. It could change the trend of how we see sport here. It could help deliver another NRL team into the NRL from Christchurch. It could evolve into, and I've had a concept in my mind for quite a long time now that I've spoken with the Australian League about, or the Australian League as it was then, and the NRL about, and the government about. I think New Zealand can come up with its own concept. I'll let you be the first journalist I've ever said anything to, or what it was called. We called it roots. So where your initial roots were, where you felt if it could be the South Island or it could be the North Island, but wherever your initial roots came from, because we can't be called State of Origin. There's no states here, obviously, but there's still enough player power and there's still enough energy and excitement to bring along New Zealand's own version of it. So you never know what's going to happen in the future, and this is a far bigger thing than just a game of footy.
So it could be like the Roots round where all of the Kiwi players who are playing over there can come and have a crack, maybe North versus South or something.
Yeah, that's what I see. No, it's hard to come up with a concept of what the eligibility would be, but so we just came up with this this concept called roots. Wherever your initial family roots came from, that's one way of. There's other eligibility methods as well, but that was just one to be simple.
We are super excited to be hosting State of Origin here in New Zealand. For many of us, kids like me, we grew up in the 80s and 90s watching some absolutely fantastic battles. We remember those heroes even today, of those great players that we got to watch on TV. And Mum and Dad would let us stay up late and watch it, and it was absolutely fantastic. So we are very excited, and securing a game like this here is a very significant moment for rugby league in New Zealand. It's going to inspire our young players, and it's going to help to grow the game nationally.
Well, I mean, this could do things for the sport in New Zealand. I mean, we've just had the Up the Wires phenomenon over here, obviously. Could Origin in Auckland inspire that next generation of Kiwi League talent, do you think?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, the Warriors have done. The Wars, they've done an incredible thing, not only for rugby league, but I think for the psyche of sport in this country. You've only got to look at the crowds. I mean, rugby union is the national game. That's our national game. Even though I'm a rugby league person, but there's 3 or 4 blokes and a few flies at most of the games now. There's no one watching it because, and I'm not being disrespectful to rugby union, but it's a different spectacle, and the NRL has taken things to another level and led in this country by the Warriors, who I think are doing a fantastic marketing job. They're not far away from being the premiers, and they've done a fantastic job, and they've taken the general psyche of sport in this country and the expectations of sport in this country to another level. They've done a fantastic job.
So what would you say to someone umming and ahhing? We don't really know Queensland. We don't really know New South Wales. All we know is the Wars. Should we even go? Should we even show up? How would you get them across the line?
Well, just back Queensland. Just get them. Don't be subtle about it. I mean, you've got to. I always remember when I first went to Australia, my first president I coached Norths in Brisbane, and I always remember having a beer with this bloke one day, and I said to him, "How the heck's this going on?" And he said, "You've got to remember, Lowe, over here, it's only a rort if you're not in it." And that sort of stuck in my mind all the time. There, that sort of thinking the Aussies have, and I think we've got to be a bit brash. And we're here in New Zealand. We're a little bit precious at times. We are a little bit precious, and that's like rugby union. They clap like that, just
they do. Actually.
That's exactly how they clap. Well,
I've been to a few games because Dad would come back from a footy game and not have a voice because he'd be yelling at the umpire like the umpire could hear him. And I came to a game here and I was like, why isn't everyone yelling?
Well, and I think if you watch a Warriors game, you'll see the excitement that's in the crowd at the Warriors games because, they play a brand of footy that's full of excitement and there's a lot of hope there for them and they're going fantastic, and I think that the psyche and the hype and expectation of sport in general, I think is being led on a new journey with the Warriors, and I think it's just fantastic. And now to get the crown the jewel in the crown of Australian sport, it's just a big coup for this Auckland, for our city here in Auckland, and it's a fantastic job done by the government and the Auckland Council. It's got it all together.
Thanks for joining us, Lowe.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry if I called you a game of aerial ping pong, but but what else can you call it?
I'll tell Dad not to watch this episode.
Thanks very much, Chelsea. Good on you.
That's it for this episode of The Front Page. You can read more about today's stories and extensive news coverage at nzherald.co.nz. The Front Page is hosted and produced by me, Chelsea Daniels. Kane Dickey is our studio operator, Richard Martin, our producer and editor, and our executive producer is Jane Yee. Follow The Front Page on the iHeart app or wherever you get your podcasts, and join us next time for another look beyond the headlines.